Welcome to another AP practice video. Today I'm going to be doing a rhetorical analysis essay, specifically the prompt from the 2010 AP English Language exam. So with that, I've got a 45-minute timer. Let's get going. So here I have the text, so we're going to spend about 5 minutes reading it and annotating it just to start. But first we'll read the prompt. So, son of former slaves, it's a farmer, astronomer, mathematician, author. He wrote to Thomas Jefferson. He's not himself a slave maybe, but he's the son of former slaves. Write an essay that analyzes how Banneker uses rhetorical strategies to argue against slavery. Okay. I'm actually going to cut the video, so I'll see you when I'm done annotating. Okay, so I just finished reading this, and now I'm going to spend about 5 minutes trying to put it all together into some kind of a thesis statement. Remember, this thesis statement needs to answer how Banneker uses rhetorical strategies to argue against slavery. So some of the things I noticed were he is asking Jefferson to recall the British oppression, which is a very recent wound for him. He also has a bit of this repeated language here, but only 2 instances, so I don't know if I'm going to mention that. Banneker also quotes Jefferson and then proceeds to argue against him in this paragraph by exposing a contradiction in Jefferson's worldview, if he wrote this in the Declaration of Independence and now is going against it. But he also maintains a very respectful tone. He says, "Neither shall I presume," and that you already know how extensive this is. And he also makes religious references, so I think we have plenty to go off of. So I'm going to move on over to this Google Doc. And 40 minutes. Yeah, okay. Perfect. So we can have a thesis that will go something like Banneker. So what exactly is he trying to do? He's saying argues, yes. Sorry, there's probably going to be a lot of me just thinking to myself during this essay. Okay, so I got some kind of a thesis here. I'm looking specifically at this line where he says, I'm not going to prescribe methods, but to recommend that you wean yourself from the narrow prejudices, which I'm taking to be this necessary evil perspective on slavery. So historical events, that's Britain. Own writing, that's the Declaration of Independence. And respectful tone is really throughout. He's, it's not a rant, really. Okay, with that, how much time? Only 35 minutes left, so we definitely need to get going on the writing. So, for the introduction, let's just introduce things. So, former or son of former slaves, Benjamin Banneker, or we can say polymath and son of former slaves, Benjamin Banneker, wrote to Thomas Jefferson, wrote a letter to Thomas Jefferson in 1791 on the issue of slavery. Right. Just after the birth of the United States of America, just after the Revolutionary War and the ratification of the Constitution, Banner. Recognizes the opportunity to talk or to leverage recent events in his argument against slavery. And now we can copy and paste. How wonderful that the 2020 exams will be typed as an option. Banneker implores Jefferson. Oh. In his letter, Banneker implores Jefferson to extricate himself from a necessary evil perspective on slavery by reminding him of recent wrongs. Yes. Okay. So now, first way Banneker. Right, but really, it's asking Jefferson to equate slavery with the first strategy Banneker uses to convince Jefferson not to remain idle on the issue of slavery is to ask him to by creating an analogy with recent historical events. Okay, is to create an analogy between the British oppression of the colonies, the British oppression of the colonies. Banneker knows that so Banneker captures the feeling of helpless, feeling of helplessness and lack of hope. So we want to say something like okay, so we have just looking at the time. I want to start getting into my evidence here, but I think this captures the feeling should go later. So no, that's the third paragraph. So he begins the letter with an image of an all exerting power that of the arms and tyranny of the British. He begins the letter with an image of the arms and tyranny of the British Crown, which is all too similar to the arms that hold whips in the tyranny of American slaves. To the white masters' arms that hold whips in the tyranny. Okay, so here we have. Back and I entreat you to the variety of dangers. Right. Banneker continues by reminding Jefferson of the feeling of hopelessness that must have overcome him when it seemed that every human aid appeared unavailable. This again mirrors, has dual meaning in the analogy of, how slaves feel hopeless because it is so rare that a white man will come to his aid. By capturing the feeling of helplessness and lack of hope that Jefferson felt when fighting the Revolutionary War, right? To complete the analogy, Banneker, much time? Okay, we need to be moving on pretty soon, but to complete the analogy, Banneker finishes the first paragraph with a reference to the present freedom and tranquility that Jefferson and the whole United States feel. However, for the first time in his analogy, there is no dual meaning yet for the slaves, as the slaves have not yet won their freedom. By capturing the feeling of helplessness and lack of hope that Jefferson felt when fighting the Revolutionary War, and then continuing by showing that that the slaves are just one step away in their mirror, in the mirror analogy. Banneker demonstrates to Jefferson that the slaves are no different than the struggle. Slaves is no different than the struggle of the United States, as such, as much as the United States preserve liberty, so too do slaves. Okay, that'll do it for the first paragraph. Okay, 23 minutes left. So let's definitely move on to the second body paragraph. This one's going to be about citing Jefferson's own writing. So having finished with the analogy between slaves and the Revolutionary War, Banneker goes on to quote Jefferson himself. Specifically, Banneker quotes the line in the Declaration of Independence: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, ... Cool. Line in the Declaration of Independence. And this says, yes. So, it is always difficult to argue against one's own words. So, Banneker also describes a zealous idealism to Jefferson in the third paragraph. Saying that he was this was when you were right. Yet, even though Jefferson stated these grand ideals 15 years ago from the writing Banneker's letter, which time? Okay, we gotta try to finish up this paragraph in like 2 minutes. Even though Jefferson stated these grand ideals 15 years from the writing, 15 years ago from the writing of Banneker's letter, what is this? I'm trying to say. Banneker says that Jefferson's current behavior is contradictory to it. I don't think I want this actually. So he creates, what is, one second, Banneker creates or states the, or makes a strong antithesis in the end of the third paragraph, saying when he says that how pitiable that you at the same time detained by fraud and sneers of my brethren. This makes it, or almost equates Jefferson's, in this line, equates Jefferson's inaction with the tyranny the British imposed on the young, colonies. It is a why am I getting these doubles? It is a direct contradiction. Oh gosh. A direct contradiction to the to the moral and religious, to the ideals. Jefferson, not Jefferson, not even typing twice, this is just a laggy computer. It is a direct contradiction to the ideals Jefferson himself espoused in the, oh gosh, Declaration of Independence. No, not independence. That's not what I said. Okay, great. This line equates Jefferson's inaction with the tyranny the British imposed on the colonies. Okay. One more line maybe. Right. Actually is a better one. At the same time, you should be found, or that you should at the same time be found guilty of the most criminal act which you professedly detested in others. Okay. Cool, fine, good enough. So, your contradiction to the ideals Jefferson himself. Self-consistent behavior is a strong motivator in. I'm not gonna go there. Not gonna go there with the psychology. Okay, so gotta get going on the final body paragraph. Let's do it then. So this is gonna be on his respectful tone. So throughout the letter, Banneker also uses a respectful tone so as to seem more an old friend than yet another adversary. from the very beginning, Banneker uses words like sir and uses respectful words like sir, and also polite requests rather than commands. For example, when he says, "Suffer me to recall," or okay. He also does not, he also says, he also I'm looking at the final paragraph where he says, "Suppose you're knowledge of the situation, neither shall I presume." He also explicitly says, he says neither shall I presume, and I suppose that your knowledge is too extensive to be a recital here. Neither shall I presume. Okay, perfect. In all, Banneker maintains a consistently, what is it? It's like a reverent tone that tries to not, that tends to never presume or order or never presume or command. Instead, Banneker simply reviews the history of past events in Jefferson's life, almost like a film reel. Begins every paragraph talks about right, so the respect fan shows goes a long way to okay. So how does this, right, I need to connect this to my thesis now. So by using a respectful tone, Banneker, I don't think that's my best body paragraph, but let's write the conclusion and then maybe come back to it. So we can say, right, all the rhetorical strategies Banneker used to use this letter to Jefferson are for one express purpose to get Jefferson. What was my thesis? Right. To get Jefferson to see slavery is not too different from the life-defining struggle for, it's not too different from the life and death struggle for the colony's life and death struggle for independence. Jefferson thesis, slavery is not an evil that can continue. To do so, he
it's coming here.
okay, so to do so, he gosh, I just lost my train of thought. It's only 2 minutes remaining. Right, so he makes an analogy, he makes it clear how slavery is not too different from, and how Jefferson's own words argue against slavery. Finally, he uses a respectful tone to, what is he doing? I feel like I didn't actually analyze the structure, but okay. Okay, so now we say many have argued against slavery, and come on, Jefferson himself likely received hundreds of letters on the issue throughout in his lifetime, but Banneker recognized you need, oh come on, not now, you need to address Jefferson personally using examples from Jefferson's own life. Oh gosh, okay. I think I could have honestly written more if I hadn't gotten those, that strange keyboard lag at the very end, but fine. Unfortunately, we did not get any time to proofread, so you people who were watching in real time, I'm sorry. I just know that there are going to be at least a few errors in this thing, and yeah. But that's all. I'm just going to scroll through this one last time. So, we'll delete the thesis. We've got introduction, first body, second body, third body. I think I could improve this a bit, and fourth body. And that's all. So this is my process when writing an essay. This is the raw, naked thoughts. Hope you enjoyed, and good luck if you're taking any AP exams this year. Bye.